You're listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, where we share topics that will inspire business growth and help you stay ahead of advances in technology before they become mainstream. This episode is sponsored by Ingram Micro Xvantage, the game-changing platform that will transform your business potential and reshape how customers see you.
So welcome back, Cash, to the B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro here. I just want to catch our audience up. You and I spent a few days, 2 days technically, I guess, out in Cleveland recently at the SMB Alliance Unplugged event, where that city, by the way, just blew me away. I was shocked. That was a great find by Ingram Micro. It was amazing, and I always loved the event just in itself, and then to have it in that city and the energy and everything that was there, it was just I want to go back. I wanted to spend more time. And I did, thanks to the airlines, but I spent it in the airport. So I'm very familiar with the Cleveland airport now. But I would have much rather gone back to that hotel and seen the city around us for the next
Take
couple
in
of
some
days.
sites and some architecture.
And the jazz and everything. It was a great find. You're right. The team did an exceptional job. But I will look forward to going back to Buffalo. But if we end up in Cleveland again, I'm not going to complain, because
nobody's going to be upset about it.
Nobody's going to be upset. That was amazing. But speaking of amazing, you spoke at the event. So you were part of ones, and I know Darren kind of threw that in at you. Darren Gottesman, our leader of our communities. But you had a great message, and it was a really heartfelt message, on the value of what you've seen in this community over the years. And I just wanted to echo that message to a bigger audience, because you talked amongst 100 of us, 100 of your peers at the event. And could you just kind of sum that message up for us, if you could, or just replay it for the audience that's listening?
Absolutely. I'll do the too long don't listen to version. I don't know what the acronym for that is. So I'll keep it short.
I can ask one of my kids.
Yeah, right. We'll get let's pull in some extra resources here.
Right.
We talk about it all the time, and about the community and kind of what it's made of. But we also talk on occasion the underlying behind what the SMB Alliance is, and it's a tech community, and it's Ingram resources and vendor resources and partners. But what ends up developing over the course of time is the personal relationships as well. And I had like you mentioned, the fortunate opportunity to kind of like 2 hours before, hey, can you get up on stage and talk for a few minutes? Sure, why not? And so, and the ask was, kind of what does a community mean, for you? And it's a family to a certain extent as well. I see a lot of folks as, but I have a lot more cousins than I used to, I guess is what it boils down to. And so, I kind of went back through a lot of folks in the SMB side, that I've been around for a long time. I had some medical issues back in 2019, and actually spent some extended time in the hospital. And the outpour of support, both for my family, but also for the business. It's like, if you need something, just reach out, let us know. We're here for you. I mean, all the things. And again, for those that know me, know that I never show up to an SMB event without my orange sneakers. You have to, quote, stand out in a crowd, and I can't pull off black turtlenecks, so orange sneakers was my next best choice.
Orange sneakers it is.
That's what I decided to go with. And so I just always roll in my orange sneakers. Easy to find, easy to follow. In a large crowd, you can pick me out pretty.
I think that's the first time I met you, was this event that you're reflecting on. Was the orange sneakers.
Yeah.
And actually, and I don't want to spoil alert, but yes, I remember this conversation.
And so I missed a couple of events early that year. And so it was my first Talking Shop event back. And we did it in Salem, Massachusetts. So I show up to the event, and I'm in the hotel, and Ben Pierce, who's one of the prior council members, he comes walking down the hallway, and he's got orange shoes on. And at that moment, it didn't click with me. I was like, man, those are fantastic shoes. And so we get over to the venue.
Colors.
I was like, this is fantastic. So we get over the venue, and somebody else comes cruising in, and they also have orange sneakers on. And I was like, that's kind of bizarre. And then like the third pair, it clicked with me exactly what was going on. And so middle of the day, we kind of get everybody together, and there was a photo taken um, with everybody in their orange shoes. And it still kind of gets me sometimes when I talk about it, because like I said, it's family. Um,
Well,
the
and
funny thing was,
it was such a big display of affection. I remember, and I'm like, who's this Patrick Cash? Everybody's got these orange shoes.
And so, we took the picture, and I printed it out and wrote some notes to folks, and most everybody I think still has it. I know we're not shooting video today, but mine's sitting on my desk, and I printed myself out a copy, but I sent copies to everybody else. And that is just one example. We have areas where storms roll through, and you will see the community reach out and say, hey, what do you need? What do you need from a business aspect? What can we do for you from a personal aspect? A lot of members you know develop and build relationships over the course of years, and what somebody's kids are, the kids' activities, or heaven forbid there's like a death in the family, or hey, there's a marriage in the family. There's just all the things. And it is above and
The
beyond.
highs and lows. It's just life.
It's life. It's life, and we get to share it together, on top of building the business relationships, on top of having all the other resources available. It just expands so much more than just a peer group, if you will, or a tech community, if you will. So yeah, it was a great opportunity to kind of share with a lot of folks that haven't heard that story. And just kind of, I think I embarrassed a couple of people. It, it things change over the course of years. I didn't really have a beard in the picture, and now I look like I belong on the side of a mountain. And so nonetheless, here we are.
The recasting for Duck Dynasty. Yes, I know.
I'm
good.
all up for it, or
You're all
ZZ Top
in.
cover band. I'm ready
ZZ
to roll.
Top. There you go. We're gonna date ourselves. No, I just thought that moment, and you could feel it in the audience. Like you captured everybody, right? To talk about this is a community for you, for your business, for you personally, professionally, for growth. And I just think that's something that we miss a lot of times, in
Absolutely.
business.
And it's difficult. I think in the industry, there's a lot of extroverted introverts, or just straight up introverts. And so, you have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, and engage. We always say you get out of it what you put into it, and you will see the members that are actively engaged, and aren't shy, or aren't shy enough to strike up a conversation or get pulled into a
Right.
conversation. And a lot of the members that have been around for a long time will pull people into conversations, if they're not, if they're new to the community. And it starts very small, but really gathers a lot of momentum in very short order. And yeah, you're living life together. It's really cool.
No, it is. And I think that the beauty of Unplugged, one, it is unplugged, right? It goes unscripted. It's definitely, these impromptu conversations. And you get to the heart of it very quickly, with everybody, because there's just this openness of conversation. And then you take those conversations out into the field. And then you guys have your own little networks, that kind of build amongst the community members. And I think that's just it's such a great way to grow your business, because you can't always talk about your business, when you go back home. When you walk back into the house, you don't want to be talking about business anymore. You want to be done, right? And so
Right.
it's nice to have that peer-to-peer connection with other like folks in the same position who do need those ears to, listen and have conversations with and help build the business. So
Certainly. And you can either avoid some mistakes that somebody else has made, which is a time and money savings, or you may strike on an idea. Devin talks about it all the time. When he first started in the community, how am I going to have a true business conversation with what I would feel like are my competitors? And there's so many members that live in very close geographic areas, especially in the New York City area, that I mean, they help each other, or if it's if this is a better fit for them, it's like, hey, I've got a referral
Right.
for you, and I mean, it just everybody works together,
And the
and what you
varying specializations and vertical markets and yeah, and just like
exactly
with you, I mean, you've got to have someone who has your back. And what a better way to have that than, 300 members of SMB Alliance who are all in
right.
and they, you need to just hit that, hit the button on the phone, right? And give them a call and somebody's got your back, right?
Uh,
If not multiple people who are, who are volleying back and forth to, okay, you take this day, I'll take this day, you do this, I'll do that.
yeah.
And I just think that the potential there, the market potential is huge as you guys, scale those businesses.
Well, and it allows you to focus on the things that you do really, really well, but also say to your customer, "Yep, I can take care of that," and know that those resources are
Are there.
available. Yeah,
Yep.
and we do. I mean, there's so many partners that do. I've done some work here in the Atlanta area for some other partners. I've had other partners do, some work for us in other areas, and it's, we typically treat them. Um, like they're our customer even though they aren't, because of the
Right.
relationship, and it's great because you can just hand it off and say, hey, if you can help me with this, yep, I can help you with this, set it and forget it, and it gets taken care of. And yeah, I mean, you're just able to maybe take on some things that you wouldn't have done otherwise, or at least be able to say to your customer, yes, I can get the job done.
Well, yeah, and there's a confidence. Like I've watched this community grow over the last 10 years that I've been involved with Darren and the team and getting unplugged and doing the talking shops and all of that and pulling all the best practices. That was one of my favorite roles in this community, is listening to all the best practices and all the lessons, right? And aggregating those and then sharing them at scale with the rest of the
Hmm.
community. I just think that's such an amazing part of the growth here, and watching you all grow and become business partners, become business leaders, become thought leaders out in this marketplace and taking your customers with you. And, I just have so much respect for what y'all do. And I know when we met, you were already well on your road, to success with Bluestor. And so I just think from a, watching you just kind of build on that, on scale on that has been amazing, and watching the give back, because you're always one of the first to say, what, here's how I did it, right? Here's what I did wrong. Here's what I did right. So
Right.
looking back on that journey, is there a couple points that, you'd be willing to share with this audience just on broader reach, just about, what it takes to build that successful MSP and what you wish you would have known earlier?
So, we talked about comfort zone for a moment. I think that's a big thing. Often you can, it's two-way street, certainly. You don't want to get too far out. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew. But at the same token, it's like you don't want to stay so narrow that you may miss opportunities that are kind of on the fringe of what you're already doing, that would make sense, but not again to the point where you're chasing something that makes no sense, and you end up in a scenario where you're wasting resource and time and money, off of something that may not come to fruition. And the afternoon presentation at Unplugged, the final note, if you will, was I believe it was yeses live in the no's, and again, another two-way street. No is an answer, and sometimes I think as MSPs and as business owners, uh, we sometimes get trapped into trying to do for a customer in a scenario that would be better for us to just say no.
Right. It's just
And
too much. Sometimes
it's
you're
too
just doing
much.
too much.
Yeah, or they're headed in a direction, or a process that doesn't align with the way that you do business, and so in taking that thing that I wish I knew earlier, no is an answer, and it doesn't mean no, and it's not personal and whatever, but it can get you out of situations that you wouldn't want to be in, or providing a service that doesn't align with your business, or there's so many different aspects that you can look at it, and so no can and should be an answer at times, but yeses live in the no's. And so, on the flip side of that, as you're approaching the business opportunity of, whether it's a new technology or, new software, or just changing the way that you're doing your structure, when a customer says no, how do you reframe that and turn it into let me think about it, or yes? And so, just navigating some of that, I think over the course of a year, and multiple years, will enable partners to be able to further streamline that process,
Right.
keep them out of the gray area, and then put them in to areas where, if I didn't ask, and again, I mean, kind of spoiler, if you will, for the folks that weren't there, the way he kind of started this whole process, he had somebody in the audience call their significant other, and there was no indication of what was going on or anything else, but it was basically just, hey, I've had a long trip. When I get home, do you think I could get a massage? That was the entire context of the conversation. And so the person on the other line is like, sure. Okay, well, I'll talk to you later. And so, the way he pointed out was like, okay, if you didn't ask, you wouldn't have gotten it. And had you gotten a no, you didn't lose anything anyway, because it was never there to start with. And so in turn, you got a yes, and now you'll get a massage when you get home. And so yeses live in the no's.
Now, and I thought that was such a good moment, given where we're at. We're 6 months into the year. You've got another 6 months to grow in this year if you're, doing your normal quarterlies here. And so I think it was just a really good moment for us, because I heard that discussion at the evening event was
Yeah.
like, I need to get better at realizing where my strengths are and playing to those strengths and developing on the things that I need to develop on, but being super comfortable in saying, that's not how we work. That's not what we do. I might have a recommendation for you, or if you want to look at the way we do business, we'd be happy to engage with you and happy to say yes to that. But you've got to kind of adhere to how we work, how we play. Here's the standards that we need. Here's the bottom line, of what you need to deploy, maybe in security specifically, right? To do a lot of that CYA on your end as an MSP,
Right.
And being comfortable with that.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, there's so much kind of risk in today's environments, and each environment is unique. I mean, not all customers are created equally, not all opportunities are created equally, but the foundation is the same. And if you can't get a buy-in on the basics, you're never going to get a buy-in above and beyond that. And it's not just for the customer's protection, but it's also, as an MSP and as an owner, running a business, we're absorbing some of those things. And, if you're not going to take my base recommendation, I'm not going to cobble something together. No is an answer, and it's not a good fit for us. We appreciate the opportunity to potentially do business together, but I would say go talk to someone else, because I don't want to put myself or my other customers at risk,
Right.
based on a decision that gets made.
Yeah,
Or
you have to
doesn't.
do what's best for your business, for the rest of your customers. You're right. For your associates, for your employees, because all those experiences are shared. At the
Right.
end of the day, it's to borrow from Tiffany. Tiffany Bova always says, it's experience to everyone, right? This isn't just about one particular set. These are all the stakeholders. And I think that's the way you guys, have been looking at it, looking through that lens. And that's what's led you to be as successful as you are today, and the give that you've given back. So from the other side of the fence, and now this is like a confidence muscle, right? That you have to build. These, the yeses are in the nos type of a thing. What are you doing to keep going forward? I mean, to like to get that. I love the movie Rocky, and every time I think about like how do you push, right? So I always think like, Sylvester Stallone famously, as Rocky, as his character says, you got to keep punching, right? And you have to keep innovating, you have to keep pushing forward, you have to keep like challenging those limits, right? To borrow from Sanjeev Sahu, our CDO at Ingram Micro, right? You've got to push. And what are you doing as a business leader to do that today, right now, at this moment? I'm just kidding.
Well, right now, this moment, I'm talking to a bunch of people that I know and a bunch of people that I don't know, and who knows what may
Right?
come from that. So, the education, I think, not from a traditional sense, but just staying current and relevant with your core stack technology, staying up to speed with kind of what's we're not a bleeding edge organization, and more of leading edge or current, because you can get in over your head, because it's just not mature yet, or
Right.
it
There's a lot
doesn't
of
come
hype
to fruition.
cycles that go with
Right.
technology.
And then there's also, when we started the As the Gears Turn podcast, we started talking about work from anywhere very, very early on. It was during COVID, and but there was work from home, but it was like, is this going to expand? And we've been having AI conversations over the last year, and that suddenly is, you're seeing the areas and the uniqueness and the way this is going to, kind of play into the way just business as a whole is going to do going forward. So educating, staying on tap with what's out there, with what's up and coming, not necessarily chasing it, but just keeping it. And then just that push. There's I should have wrote it down. There's like willpower and motivation, I think, are the two coins. And you can't do it on willpower alone. It's like the New Year's resolutions. By January 5th everybody's done. And so kind of setting some small goals. If you're looking at growth, it's like, all right, what do we need to do to make 5 new contacts, a day, a week, 10 a
Right.
month, 20 a month, it's really start to sit down and kind of put stuff to paper. I'm old school still sometimes, and I just take out a notepad and I start writing, because it's easier sometimes than typing, and my brain doesn't work that way all the
It's not
time.
as loud.
It's not as loud. It's like midnight and all you hear is click, click, click. And my wife
Right.
yells at me, like, turn the phone off, go to bed.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I jot down before I go to bed, like things that are on top of mind.
yeah,
I write them down and I revisit them in the morning. And some of
yeah,
them I'm like, okay, that was just a random thought, but sometimes there's an idea down there, or there's an action item that just popped up, and it's just
right.
something
Well,
that you've got to push forward
it,
on.
and that's the thing is, one of the key things, one of the the marquees of Unplugged is, getting out of the business and actually working on it. And I think all too often, you know, as MSPs and certainly as executives and owners within inside the organization, we get into the minutia of just working in the business and not on the business. And so I think taking that time, I'm trying to remember, uh, I think it was Kirk Robinson talked about library days.
Yes, he
Um,
did.
and so, I put that in my back pocket. And so it's like, yeah, you've got to just turn it all off for a few minutes, preferably like, a day,
Yeah.
and just, hey, where do I want to be 6 months from now? Where do I want to be a year from now? Where do I want to be 3 years from now? And those aren't stagnant things. Those are, you need to be kind of following through them. And,
Right.
we
Well, and it
talk,
takes discipline. I think it takes, to Kirk's point, schedule it. Like, it's
right.
got to be in the calendar,
It's got
right?
to be
It's
on the
got to be in the
calendar.
calendar, and you have to
Yep.
put the boundary up. And it's
Right.
this is your library day, and
Yep.
this is what you're going to do, and you're going to dig deep, and you're going to have those aha moments in peace, because you gave yourself time to think.
Yeah. Well, so there's a lot of keep punching in that very short question. I gave you a very long answer, but there's a couple of different tidbits, and people can, go which direction they
Now they
want
can
to
go in where they
choose.
want to go. No, and I
Right.
and they do, and I think it's like what he also talks about, the 1% improvement, right? Where you're kind of just inching, right? But if after time, all those inches add up, right? And then
Right.
you've taken a giant leap, and it felt very consumable. It was very doable,
Yeah.
right? Looking at that. So I think that's where another message that we pulled out of the years of doing business with Ingram Micro, but also of being at Unplugged and being at these talking shops and taking the show on the road and talking to the peer sets and whatnot. So I know we're running low on time, but I have to ask because I got to see some images of some new family members, let's call it, that you've introduced. And one of my favorite movies to watch with my girls was We Bought a Zoo. And I realized you didn't buy a zoo, but you're kind of heading that way, it sounds like. So you want to let us in on what the Cash family's doing here moving forward? I just think it's a beautiful balance in your life as an MSP and then your life back at home as a dad and an entrepreneur at heart.
Sure. So, and thanks for the opportunity to talk about it for a second. And hopefully Matt Damon will be able to reprise a role in We Bought a Farm.
We bought a farm.
I
don't know. I think you should just play
we're mirror
yourself.
Images of each other. Well,
you are mirror images, yes. Well, we got to go back to ZZ Top and see who in the band wants to come in.
I'm not sure that nobody's gonna go watch that. So we, as a family, we've been looking to purchase some land for a few years now, and have finally kind of quote unquote struck gold. And it's IT by day and farm by nights and weekends. We're starting just a small family farm business, and just kind of getting back. It's unique, and you and I talked about this offline. It's pretty rural, and we are connecting as a family and disconnecting, and it seems counter to what we're talking about today, but it's very important to what we're talking about today. It's that unplugged portion. We'll go back to that. It's given us the opportunity to unplug from all the technology that we do have and have access to, which is awesome, and plug into each other, and hopefully plug in with a lot of other people as well. Long-term goal for this is just to have a place that folks can come and disconnect from all the things and connect with each other, and just we'll see how it goes over the course of the next 12 to 24 months. So it's Monkey Doodle Acres. And our oldest, her nickname growing up has been Monkey, and our youngest is Doodle. And it just, we were looking for farm names, and I was like, Cash Family Farm. I mean, it doesn't sound bad, but what else can we do?
Cash is just like the best last name.
I mean,
when I met you, I was never going to forget I might have forgot Patrick. I might have, right?
There's 75% of the community probably doesn't know my first name. So,
but then they don't know Devin's last name, so it's all good.
That also true. Also true. I mean, we just go by monikers. Eventually, I will just be able to change our names to symbols, and it'll be
Prince.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. So yeah, it's a great opportunity, for our family, and we've certainly been blessed, and part of that blessing has come through this community, and the outpour of congratulations and support, and I've already started complaining to people because I'm like, I didn't know what I was getting into, and
chickens take a lot of work, and
IT muscles are not like working farm muscles, and I will admit I'm a little sore.
I just love that you don't really have Wi-Fi and DSL. It's just like
we are truly disconnected at the moment. It is a unique thing, but it's been really cool because it has and again, going back to things that we've talked about, you go to a restaurant and you see everybody, they're face down in their phones, or even sitting around the dinner table. It's TVs and phones and all the different. We're so bombarded with media and
you have to
content.
make a deliberate effort to check in, right? To be present, as they say, right? And people are like, oh, I'm present. I'm just like multitasking, and it's like, no, you're really not totally present. Like retention isn't going to be there.
Exactly, and what I'm finding is like being able to disconnect a little bit and work on other things. Then when I do come in the morning, or I'm headed out in the evening, I've got a little bit of time to just kind of soak it all in, and that's where some of that thought process is coming in. And people will say all the time, it's like, find a hobby, or find something outside of whatever your 9 to 5 is, and kind of pour into it that you can do with a significant other, or with the family. And this seems to be our thing, so we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a fun journey.
Well, I love it, and I think it's a great balance to the day. I can't get enough of it. I'm like, I keep telling him, okay, now if I wanted you guys to come to Idaho, right, for Unplugged, but now I'm like, no, forget it. We're gonna go out to the farm. The farm, I'm in.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We're in.
Oh, well, thank you so much for spending time with us here on the B2B Tech Talk. I really appreciate it. I know that the audience will appreciate the insights. You're always so open about, your successes and what you've learned, and I just love these conversations. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, Marie. Thanks for taking a few minutes to talk. And I look forward to seeing everybody at a future event.
You've been listening to Ingram Micro's B2B Tech Talk. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode and you want to continue the conversation online, use hashtag B2B Tech Talk.